Hello and welcome to the Inside the U postgame show. Miami wins 73-62 over Georgia Tech, improves to 16-5 overall, 8-2 in the ACC, leads the ACC right now. Duke won earlier today to improve to 7-2, but Miami stays in front. They lead the ACC at the midway point, 10 games into the conference schedule of their 20-game schedule. Definitely drop in the comments. Let me know what you think of this game. I thought there were a lot of positives in this one. Notably, Miami improves to 5-1 on the road. I would have to check. I wish I knew this, but I think I wrote that Miami only had 5 road wins in the past few years, including a couple years ago they go winless on the road. So it's good this team is winning on the road. That's something I want to ask Jim Larranaga about afterwards. We will go right to him on the Zoom interviews after he's available here. I also have a link to Josh Pastner of Georgia Tech. We might pop in over there, see what he has to say about Miami and this game in particular. Miami led by as many as 19 points. They did a really good job of getting out in front and building that lead. They had that nice 17-4 run. I think it was 19-4 run at the end of the first half into the second half. And then they were able to build this big lead. Obviously, Georgia Tech comes back, gets it within 6. Crowd is really energetic today. And I thought Miami did a good job. You know, Cam McGusty did a really good job of sparking runs. He did it with the 2 3-pointers into the first half. And then he did a good job of stopping runs as well with the free throws or making big shots. So Cam McGusty, I thought he played very well today. His friend, his former teammate Trey Young was sidelined today. Saw Cam put up 20 points in a game. He only made 5 of 16 shots. So I thought that was impressive. Another thing I'm interested in hearing Jim Larranaga talk about, hopefully I can get some questions in with him, and I will go right over to there. I don't want to miss anything, so I want to make sure I'm paying attention to when we're able to go Zoom. But one of the things I thought Miami did a good job of, although they only shot 41%, and at times they were disrupted offensively, 16 turnovers. But Georgia Tech was throwing a lot of different defensive looks at them, switching either from a 3-2 zone to a 2-3. I even saw a 1-3-1 at one point. And Georgia Tech was just making it as uncomfortable as they could for the Miami guards. Again, McGusty only makes 5 of 16. I'm sure Pastner and his staff would take that going into the game. But Cam was able to battle through. We've seen this with Cam. So he makes all 8 of his free throws, gets points in other ways. Did a really good job there. And then Isaiah Wong. Okay, here, we got to hold on here. We're just getting the Zoom call up here. So just give me 1 second. Coach isn't here yet. I just want to make sure we're good to go.
Recording in progress.
Hey, Coach, can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Coach. All right, Coach, start with an opening statement. We'll go into questions whenever you're ready.
Well, again, one heck of a college basketball game. We played terrific for a long stretch, and then Georgia Tech stormed back and did a great job of forcing turnovers. This is the first game where our opponent has forced more turnovers than we did. They did a heck of a job, and then they converted all of those into fast break points, and we didn't get back defensively. Every shot we missed ended up being like a fast break for them. But we built up a great lead to start the second half, and we were able to hold on. So real credit goes to the whole team, but in particular a guy like Bensley Joseph, who had to come in and run the point at the end of the game when Charlie Moore fouled out.
Okay, we'll go into questions for Coach L. If he has one, please use the hand raise function and wait to be called on. We'll start with Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald.
All right. Congratulations, Jim. What can you just talk about what adjustments you made a little bit at halftime? I mean, they forced a lot of turnovers in the second half. I think you guys averaged 8.4 or something for the season, and had 10 already in the first half. What did you do? What did you tell the guys at halftime about that, about taking care of the ball?
Well, what is interesting, Michelle, before the game ever began, yesterday at practice, we talked about Georgia Tech's style of defense, and they're the best team in the league at looking for steals. They actually play your pass, and they do a great job. If you dribble penetrate, they're ready for you to kick it out. They are very, very active defensively. So we are not surprised by our number of turnovers. So you got to give their defense a lot of credit, and they change it. They play man, they play the 1-3-1. Am I still on?
Yeah.
They play a 1-1-3, and they play the passing lanes. And a passing lane defense is really designed to make your passes difficult, and they did a great job of that.
Did you do something at halftime to adjust to take better care of the ball second half, or not? Or
not really an adjustment, just again a very strong emphasis on this is what they're trying to do. You got to remember that.
Right.
And then what we did at the end of the first half that worked so well is we attacked it differently by getting the ball to Cam McGusty at the elbow.
Mm-hmm.
And Cam was able to convert those opportunities into baskets, and we ended up with an 8-point lead. In the second half, we did the same thing. And then you saw Georgia Tech took an early timeout, and we knew they'd make a change in the defense and in their substitution pattern. So we changed the offense, and the guys just executed the offense very well for the next 6 or 7 minutes. We ended up, I think the highest point lead we had was 18.
19. You got to 19.
So we're up 19, and now we're playing so well, the guys want to just get into a running contest with them. And we were missing, and they were just shooting layups on us because we weren't getting back defensively.
Thank you.
Stock from Inside the U.
Yeah, Coach, how important are these road wins for your team to stay atop of the lead in the conference? You go to 3-1 on the road, 5-1 overall. Just how important are these road wins? Have been tough the last few years.
Well, I think playing on the road every year is hard. One of the things that was very different for us this year than any other year I've ever coached, we started conference play with 4 straight home games. And we were able to capitalize on that opportunity by going 4-0 at home. That gave us some confidence going on the road because we were playing pretty darn well at that time. And then if you win one like we did it at Duke, you feel good about yourself. And now we've played 10 conference games, 6 at home and 4 on the road. And we're 3-1 on the road. So that's a pretty darn good road record in the ACC, especially at this time, because I think there's a lot of parity in the league.
Go now to Luke Chaney from the Miami Hurricane. Luke.
Hey, Coach. You briefly mentioned about Bentley Joseph a little earlier. He finished today with the season-high 22 minutes. Was there any intention for him to receive more playing time for today's game?
Oh, no, that was not in the game plan. That was an in-game decision based on Charlie Moore picking up 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes. Bensley came in there and played in a long stretch, and we need Charlie. Charlie is our quarterback, and so one of the great things about Bensley is how well he played when Charlie fouled out.
We'll go to Chris Stock again from Inside the U.
Yeah, Coach, going back to the defensive looks at Georgia Tech, it felt like they were rotating and switching it up quite frequently. What did your guards do well in that? It felt like at times the ball movement was good. I know you touched on the turnovers, but what were you guys able to do? You were able to get some points on the perimeter at times.
Well, I think we have very skilled players, and I use the expression to all the players, you've got to use your basketball ability in this game. And on the offensive end, your most important ability is availability. Don't leave the guy with the ball with no one to pass to because they're going to try to block his pass. You can't stand around waiting for the ball to come to you. You got to go get it. And early in the game, we had some beautiful assists where Jordan Miller ended up with a dunk and then a 3-point play. Anthony Walker ended up with a layup where the big guys shared the ball with each other. I don't know who got the assist on those. Sam Wardenberg had 1 assist. Isaiah had 3. Charlie Moore had 3. But I'm guessing that Jordan Miller's 2 assists were to Anthony Walker, to his teammate inside.
Go back to Luke Chaney.
Hey, Coach, can you talk a little bit about the versatility that Jordan Miller brings in the defensive end?
Yeah, Jordan Miller had another heck of a game. He ends up 5 for 8 from the field, 3 for 3 from the foul line. Those last free throws were huge. 13 points, 8 rebounds. He's our leading rebounder. He guards Jordan Usher, and for a very long time, I thought he did a great job on Jordan Usher. And then, with about 5 or 6 minutes, 7 minutes to go, Jordan Usher just exploded for a couple of incredible baskets. So, but Jordan Miller is just a key cog in our web. I mean, he can switch on ball screens. He can guard a bigger guy. He's good in around the basket, and he hits an occasional three. So, really good player.
Anything else for Coach L? All right, last question from Chris Stock.
Yeah, Coach, a couple more for you. Just your thoughts. You got your guys out rebounded Georgia Tech 38-31. So your thoughts on that, and then also the good job you guys defensively in holding Michael DeVoe to 12 when he had scored big points this year.
I think the rebounding comes when teams miss shots. Both teams were playing guards. They were small, we were small. They're not the big bulky team that we see in the ACC so often. Even though Howard is a big guy and he played well, when they take him out, like Jordan Usher and Khalid Moore are their centers. So we're able to rebound against guys that are our size or smaller.
All right, Coach, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So it looks like that's going to wrap it up on the Miami standpoint. It looks like we're not going to get players. I am going to check to see if we can get Josh Pastner in just to get his thoughts on the game, maybe his thoughts on Miami. As you've seen with the other teams' coaches, when we do this, once it starts to be a lot about their team, I kind of drift off that, but I do want to check to see if we can get him here.
Yeah, it's what Josh flipped out. It was pretty clear loose ball foul. I guess it wasn't loose. It was just a dumb foul. He wrapped him up.
Yeah. I see a Christopher Stock. Who is that?
Yes, Chris Stock with InsideTheU in Miami.
Okay. All right. Didn't recognize you. Sorry.
So we will go over there.
Recording in progress.
With Pastner.
Recording stopped.
But yeah, I do want to talk about a little bit about some of the things Jim Larranaga had to say. I thought, again, the rebounding was good. We talk a lot about how Miami doesn't.
Okay.
Ready when you are, Moose.
All right. We'll start off with
recording in progress.
Start off with Jordan Usher. Jordan, you ready? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you, Moose. What's up, baby?
All right. How you doing? Good.
All right, so they're going with Jordan Usher right now, and we'll switch over when Coach Pastner is able to talk. Give me 1 second as I get this sorted here. Okay, anyways, we will get over there. I don't want to be too distracted. I want to shout out to everybody that's here. Some things I want to talk about with Jim Larranaga had to say. He talked about the rebounding. Once again, Miami out-rebounds them 38-31. He touched on that. Yes, they can rebound against teams that are smaller than them, but Usher's one of those guys that's tall. I think Moore is tough too. Usher did finish with 10 rebounds, but as you can see, Georgia Tech only had the 6 offensive rebounds, so good job for Miami there. I asked Coach about defending Michael DeVoe. He didn't answer the question. Maybe just that sometimes happens when I ask, or when you ask double questions there. But I thought Miami did a good job. Michael DeVoe came into the game second in the ACC, averaging 19 points a game. So he did a good job, or the guards did a good job in defending him. He wasn't able to get going, get loose there. And as we saw last year, DeVoe scored 29 against Miami. So Another thing with Michael DeVoe too. So he's in one of these draft prospects similar to where Isaiah Wong and Cameron McGusty are, not highly regarded, but certainly guys in that back end, that second round. Maybe they get picked. Maybe they're going to get invited to a training camp, kind of G League, or not G League, but Summer League stuff. So they're kind of similar draft prospects. And actually NBADraft.net has DeVoe getting picked late second, doesn't have Cam and Isaiah. So I thought it was good for those guys, particularly Cam, to perform well in this game. It's obviously NBA draft stuff isn't a one game sample size, but you saw him go toe to toe. If you see the thumbnail on this video, it's the toe to toe matchup with DeVoe and McGusty there. They kind of got in a little brush up, and DeVoe's a guy that has been a key part in Miami losing the last 3 times they faced each other. So good for Cam, good for the guards to defend him. He wasn't able to get loose. Crowd was good, but Miami did a good job defending him. He only finished with 12 points, and certainly a guy that's more than capable. He had 2 30-point games earlier this year. He did against Georgia. He had 37 and then 33 against Wisconsin. So a guy that can do it against good teams, and Miami did a good job being able to hold him down. Miami returns to the court against Notre Dame next week at home. Notre Dame is an interesting team, not one that I've talked about very much, but they're on the rise. They're 6-2 in the conference. If you want to check them out, you can watch them tonight, 6 o'clock against Virginia. Virginia team is 6-4. That's who Miami also plays after that. So if you want to see Miami's next 2 opponents in action, you could do it in the same game. Let's go back to it a little bit. Let's see if we can look at the standings here. So there we go. Bringing this up, I want to show you guys kind of just where Miami is in the standings. You see these are updated at 8-2. I don't know what happened with the Duke. They did just show 7-2. Duke did win at noon as well in the game. Actually, I don't know why they took that off, but Duke is 7-2. So this is just where Miami stands at the current moment. And like I said, Notre Dame, keep your eye on Wake Forest. They were a team that was playing really well before Miami played, and Miami beat Wake Forest, but definitely watch them. They're a team that I like with good guards, with Alondas Williams as a top guard, but they've got some big guys down low. Miami was able to get the win, but I still think that they're a good team that could stay in the top 4 here as it moves forward. And UNC plays North Carolina State at 2 o'clock. That's going on right now. So those are teams to watch. Obviously, Florida State can be in the mix. I want to go back. Let's go back a little bit to the game here. Cam McGusty, the 20-point game I touched on with him. I want to talk about Charlie Moore a little bit. He did a really good job, and you see the 5 of 10 shooting, knocks down a couple threes. He stayed active, the 4 rebounds, 3 assists, the 4 steals. He did foul out, missed the final 3 minutes of the game, but sometimes you always worry about, or you wonder how players that have big games, obviously that big half-court winner against Virginia Tech last game, how are they going to come back in the next game? A lot of attention on them. Will they bounce back? It's tough to have these duplicate big-time games, but really solid today. I thought he was good. Coach Larranaga touched on his ability to pass the ball, find Jordan Miller. I thought Jordan did a really good job at the beginning of the game. A couple dunks. Miami goes up 9-3. Getting inside the defense, and Coach Larranaga touched on the Georgia Tech defense was a little tough at times with the mix here. We still got Georgia Tech players. They got their second player. Still waiting on Coach Pastner. I will get on over there, at least for a couple minutes. But a good win for Miami. I know you might look at where Georgia Tech is in the standings. Down in the standings, not a good Georgia Tech team this year. They dropped to 2-7 in the ACC, but all these games are tough on the road. I touched on it at the beginning, then I asked Coach about it, but as you can see in the chat, Miami's 5-1 on the road this year. They were 5-26 in the last 3 years, including 3 years ago when they did not win a road game at all. So a huge difference. It's why Miami's in this position. It's why they're 16-5. They're able to stay poised and use their maturity, one of these veteran teams. And, I think if you watch this team, even though it was looking dicey at times, the lead's getting cut down to 6 and from 19, this team has been in games like that. And watching it, I wasn't overly concerned that Miami was going to absolutely let the game completely slip away. even though there were some things that weren't clean, the 16 turnovers was higher than they've had maybe all season. It might be a season high. I'd have to double check there. So that was there. They only shoot 41%, but again, a team that's poised. They make 21 of 25 from the free throw line, shoot 84%. You can see that was a huge difference in the game as we look at the splits here. Georgia Tech goes 3 of 10. So Miami doing really good on their free throw defense there. But no, seriously, they did good. You know, they stayed poised down the stretch. I thought Isaiah Wong, and I saw some of the comments on the game thread with Isaiah, obviously not his best game, but it wasn't quiet. And I think that's when you get concerned when these guys kind of go on quiets. I thought down the stretch, Isaiah was still aggressive. You got to get the ball to somebody, and Isaiah took that. Moore was out, and Isaiah was going to the basket, drawing fouls, made it tough. And certainly, you know, he split his free throws, so you want to make more free throws, be more efficient, obviously. But I just thought it was good that he was aggressive, stayed aggressive, you know, and did his best in a game that he wasn't having his best game. Anytime Isaiah goes under 10 points, it's a surprise because he scores in bunches. So I thought he did a good job in staying in the game late, and again, he was still active, and I thought that was good. Even though his shot wasn't falling, he was 0 of 5 from 3. He'd been shooting at a good percent, so disappointing on that front. Disappointing game, but Miami gets the win. They certainly did enough there. Uncle Joey, I appreciate you. I'm glad you like the content. We got Coach Pastner coming up here, and I'll switch over to there. Since we don't get any Miami players, we were able to get Coach Larranaga. I was hoping we'd get Cam McGusty, the 20-point performance, Trey Young sideline, the big buckets, the nice 3-point shots, you know, the toe-to-toe with Michael DeVoe, ending a 3-game losing streak to Georgia Tech. I thought all these things would have been good to ask him, but, you know, sometimes we don't get players on the road. It happens. We'll move on. We'll move forward. There's still plenty to talk about with this team here. So just checking, yeah, we're good to go on Pastner. I have no idea when he's coming, but we'll switch right over again just to get couple minutes, couple comments from him to see what he has to say about this game. He's a guy that I've always been interested, you know, in him as a coach ever since he was at Memphis. Coach Larranaga gave him a lot of praise with what he was able to do defensively. They mix it up. Coach did mention that 1-3-1 defense is something I noticed. He actually said Georgia Tech was running a 1-1-3. I'd like to watch that back. It was hard to figure out what they were doing at times. I thought they were running
I can't read.
A 2-3 at times and a 3-2. They were just mixing it up. And I think Miami, you know, sometimes when you go zone, the ball tends to stick. And even though Miami wasn't shooting at a high clip or anything, I thought they did a good job of moving the ball around, you know, trying to find open pockets, which they were able to do at times. And that's why they were able to get the lead. They didn't fall behind early with this disruptive looks by Georgia Tech, even though they were turning the ball over. So I thought Miami did a pretty good job recognizing some things. They didn't get completely out of sync, still able to score 73 points in the end. I think there's a lot they can take from moving forward. Mike Bray's team at Notre Dame will certainly be a good defensive team, you know, with some good concepts. And then Virginia, obviously, with what they do defensively. I think this is a good game for Miami to take some of these bits and pieces with the defenses they saw here. Here's Coach Pastner.
Okay. Coach Pastner is now with us. Coach,
Recording in progress.
Yep.
Coach, if you'd like to go ahead and get started, and then we'll go to questions.
Yeah. First off, we're going to give Miami credit. Very good basketball team. They are, you know, they got great perimeter players. I thought defensively we did a lot of good. We were good enough defensively to win the game. You know, they came in one of the best teams in the country in taking care of the ball. And we did force them into 16 turnovers and we held them to 41% from the field and 32 from three. It's just, you know, you look at the statistical categories, we had more field goal attempts and we just, you know, everything was either even or we maybe even had a little advantage here and there. The difference in the game comes down to the free throw line. They made theirs and we didn't. We also missed a lot of layups. And but you got to give Miami credit. Coach Larranaga I said it the other day, he's a Hall of Famer, should be in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's creeping on 700 wins and their team is really good. And just got to give that group their team a lot of credit. And we did a lot of good defensively, not so much good on some areas offensively, but in the end, it just came down to missing some layups. And, we missed a lot of free throws. So that's the deal. But we'll bounce back. Got a really great opportunity on Wednesday versus a great Virginia Tech team. And then we come back home versus Clemson. So, we'll just keep getting better. I think these last 3 games have shown our improvement in areas that we needed to improve on, and we're getting better. Unfortunately, it's later in the year now. All my teams have always gotten better later in the year, but we're heading in the right direction. We just got to keep plugging away, keep fighting, keep scrapping, and we'll keep staying the course.
Okay, raise your hand if you got a question in the chat, and we'll first go to Kelly Quinlan. Go ahead, Kelly.
Josh, obviously another game where Mike struggled a little bit. You sat him down, and that was around the time you guys sparked a major run with Miles coming in and shooting the ball well. Just kind of what's been going on with him. He had some of the missed layups you talked about, missed a key free throw in the game too, missed 2, I think. Just kind of what's going on with him. It seems like he's a little bit off right now.
Michael DeVoe's a great player. He's had a great year. Obviously this was a tough game for him, but he'll bounce back. And we need Michael. I mean, we're going to need him to be really good for us. And so he's due to go on a long streak of many great games in front of him. He's had a fantastic season. He's just, this was a tough night. He's got to put it behind him and ready to go on Wednesday. And we're going to need him versus Virginia Tech and then Clemson Saturday. So I got full confidence in Michael DeVoe. He'll bounce back. He'll get better, and we'll get right back after it. And Kelly, we need him. We need him to be really good for us to be successful. There's no denying that. And he'll be ready to go on Wednesday.
Okay, we'll go to Rod McKenzie next. Rod?
Hey, Josh, on the same subject, I think earlier in the year, you mentioned that you wanted Michael to take the 3 and not try to get closer to the basket. And that seems like where he's been getting in trouble lately when he tries to get closer to the basket. I mean, what are you seeing?
He's got the green light. I want him to shoot long closeouts. When he's got any airspace, I want him to shoot it and let it fly. But I can't make him go. I can't go on the floor and hold his hands and shoot it. He's got to, it's on him. That when he's comfortable, he's got to let it go. And if he's not shooting it, he just may not feel comfortable at that point. And so. But he knows he's got the green light, and we need him. I want him to shoot it. Anytime he's got space on the 3-point line, I want him just to shoot it. He has a tendency to sometimes try to turn those down and get deeper. I've told him deeper is not always better, especially as great of a shooter as you are. However, he's the player. I'm not, and he's the one who's got to, feel comfortable to let it fly. And so that's going to be, that's on him. But he knows he's got the green light to let it to shoot it. He's just got to shoot it.
Patrick Conroe. Go ahead, Patrick.
Coach Pastner, on a day like today, very frustrating. You said the other day against FSU, the ball was dropping for Georgia Tech. It certainly was. Today, it certainly was not. And you did miss a few free throws, front end of a couple one-on-ones, but they had 15 more attempts than you had. That just seems unlikely in the grand basketball karma of the universe. How do you handle that as a coach when your kids are thinking, well, maybe the refs are seeing it one way today? How do you handle that?
Yeah, well, first off, I mean, the kid, Anthony Walker, hits a 3. He had to hit one all conference season. He was 0 for 2. He hits a 3. Charlie Moore hits that one, at the end of the clock. How many layups do we have miss out? I was just sometimes when the ball's just not falling your way, it just doesn't fall your way. And it's been one of those years where the ball hasn't always bounced our way. This year, and like for Miami, it's bouncing their way. They got a lot of great balls rolling, and so that's what makes sports so great. Regarding the officials, I don't ever comment about the officials after a game, just out of respect to Georgia Tech and anything with just taking the high road and anything with dealing with officials. If I have an issue, I'd always call our head of the officials, Brian Kersey, and talk to him privately. So. Just out of keeping the high road and taking the high road, I always avoid from talking about officials after games.
Do you think you'll be calling Brian Kersey this time?
I call Brian Kersey a lot for many reasons, not only about the officials. He's asked me for a bobblehead, and we've talked, and so there's many. He just had he's had a couple grandkids, so I check on him just to make sure he's doing okay, and so many times I call Brian Kersey, and many times I've called him after games and nothing about officials, and other times I've called him to talk about officials. So, I have a great line of communication with Brian Kersey.
Ken Segura, go ahead, Ken.
If I can try to follow up, I think I know what you're going to say, but you were unusually vocal. I know you've always said about you want to represent Tech well and so forth, but it did seem like you were maybe a lot more animated about the way the game was called today than the normal.
Well, look, Ken, I've been a head coach for 13 years. I've never used a word of profanity. So I don't curse. I don't say anything, but I'm intense. I'm coaching every possession. And I know the officials have a very tough job, and we've got great officials in the ACC. And I know the officials have a very, very tough job. I know they do. So, but I think any coach, this isn't Josh Pastner, any coach of any team you're coaching of any sport, when, you're going to plead your case if you feel, everyone does that. That's been from the history of time with the game. So I don't think there's anything different. But I do coach every possession, but I really don't spend a lot of time, begging for calls or getting on the officials. And if I do get upset about a call, I feel it's I feel I have a right to get on that. And like I said, there's no ever a situation of any profanity or anything, that would be anything other than I just get intense coaching. But I do know the officials have a very tough job. I have the highest level of respect for officiating. And even those three guys today, look, every time we play, I don't agree with every official's call. They don't always agree with me, but I respect and have the highest level of respect for all officials. And that includes for today's crew and whomever we have on Wednesday and whomever we have next week. I have the highest level of respect of all officials. And I know they have a tough job and they give it their best, just like I give it my best. The players give it their best, and nobody out there is perfect. So, but I have the highest level of respect, Ken, for all officials, especially in the ACC.
Rod McKenzie, go ahead, Rod.
Hey, Josh, in the past, when you've gone to your man-to-man defense, you've haven't gotten the help that you needed when the guy was beating off the ball. It seemed that issue came to the forefront again during that run by Miami, where you didn't have anybody back there to, protect the rim and bail out the guy that was beating off the dribble.
Well, Rod, I thought we were pretty good defensively in some areas on the time or two where we got driven and we didn't have the help. That's on the guy guarding the ball. He's got to be able to guard his yard for 2 dribbles. So no defense works if you just get blown by. But we went small for a lot of the game. So we were small a lot of the game.
To Kelly Quinlan. Go ahead, Kelly.
Josh, it seemed like you guys got off to a slow start and were low energy early in the game. And then that seemed to come up again in the second half as they kind of pulled away from you guys. And you burned the timeout, I think, a minute into the second half. Kind of what was going on? Was it the early tip? Was it all the energy and emotion from the FSU game hangover there?
Kelly, I mean, I believe in energy, and just, I don't know if it was because the very first play of the game, he missed the layup. I don't know if that was kind of an energy thing. I don't know. But I felt we didn't, and that part of it, Kelly, is we missed a lot of layups that first half. You and I would be talking differently right now if we made those layups, and we had some great opportunities from 3 that we missed, that we made on Wednesday and that we made on the Sunday before. We just got in that scoring drought. So I don't know if it's as much as low energy as it is that we didn't score. And I just think that's been a deal with us all season long. Almost every game, we have just had a long session or section or a time where we're just not scoring. We get in those scoring droughts.
Christopher Stock from InsideTheU. Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, Coach, you touched on forcing Miami to 16 turnovers and holding to 41%. Just essentially, what makes Miami so tough to go against, even though you get a couple things in your favor there.
Well, Chris, first of all, if you're at InsideTheU, you should be promoting more about Jim Larranaga. He's creeping up on 700 wins, Christopher. Like, somebody there at Miami needs to nominate him for the Basketball Hall of Fame. 3 different schools, he's had over 150 wins. 3 different schools. He's one of the very few coaches to do that, Chris. He's almost to 700. He's been so successful. He's taken George Mason to the Final Four. He deserves to at least be on the ballot or nominated for the Basketball Hall of Fame. So I think that's one. And then 2, Chris, I think Miami's really good. I think they're really good, and I think they can make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. And they got great perimeter players, and they can flat out put the ball in the basket. And our issue today is, which is a credit to Miami. They're a better defensive team than probably people give credit for. They're great with steals and stuff like that. But when you're playing them, you got to score. You got to be able to put the ball in the basket. And unfortunately today we left a lot on the table. But that's a credit to Miami. But Chris, I highly recommend that somebody there at the university, or maybe yourself, Chris, or anyone at InsideTheU can, push forward for Coach Larranaga. He's earned the right to at least be on the ballot. And I know that's not your responsibility, Chris, but maybe, I don't know who the basketball Moose. Who's the basketball? It used to be Andy from the ACC. Who's the new basketball SID there?
They got Alex Schwartz.
Alex.
Oh, at Miami.
I love Alex. Is it Alex?
At Miami, yes.
Yeah, I love Alex. You tell Alex, Chris, please send a message because Alex is a good guy. Tell Alex, I says we've got to get Coach Larranaga nominated to the Hall of Fame. He's got to do that. Can you send him an email on that, Chris?
I will text him as soon as we're done here, and we
tell him
definitely
it's a direct message, and tell Alex I'm giving him a fist bump while he's doing that too. Alex is a good man.
I appreciate the comments, Josh. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
We'll take one more, hopefully back to the bowl game. One more question if anybody's got one. Kelly Quinlan, go ahead. It's all you.
We got Kelly.
We'll take Ken too, and then
Kelly
we'll
and Ken, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay,
yes.
That's it. Yeah, here we go.
And in terms of just, you shrunk the bench again. Obviously, Rodney had a tough night tonight, or tough day today. Just kind of was that example with going with Miles there, what you can do a little bit, having played some guys early in the season, do you have some confidence to bring him in?
Yeah, Miles came in and hit some big shots for us, hit 3 threes, and I'm just trying to keeping the rotation tighter, and we just got to keep it tighter for right now, and I think that gives us our best chance of success. And everybody that has got to stay ready as we, move forward.
So you heard Coach Pastner there. Yeah, he definitely had some positive things. I was glad to get my question in to ask him about Miami, what makes them tough. I tried earlier. I evidently didn't have my hand right. Whatever. He had some good things to say. He had some good things to say about Coach Larranaga, which isn't a surprise because earlier this year, there was a time I posted some comments from the other ACC coaches about what they thought about Miami. This was when Miami was starting to get it going there. It might have been after the Duke win, but just a lot of praise for what Miami is as a team, and a lot of, it's not surprising to hear praise from other ACC coaches about Jim Larranaga and the things he's been able to do. I know Coach K has had a lot of positives to say about him, and you hear Josh Pastner. He's a guy that's been a head coach for a while, a younger guy that certainly admires what Coach Larranaga has been able to do. I think let's stay on that though. I think one of the things that makes Larranaga good, or when he's at his best with a coach, as a coach, and this is what you're seeing with this team. And if you didn't see the article I wrote in the last few days, I did 10 reasons why Miami leads the ACC near the midway point. And one of the reasons was it was positive environment. Coach Larranaga does a great job with that, but also his teams are at its best when he's able to identify distinct player roles. And I think that's what this team has. They know who their go-to guys are. They're not constantly shuffling in their lineup, although their bench isn't giving them a ton of minutes. One thing the bench is not doing, which I think is a positive, is they're not taking a bunch of shots away from your best players. And I think too often times college teams get into that. Too many guys want to be the guy. They don't like their role, so when they get in, they want to jack up a bunch of shots. And I thought that was part of the problem last year. I've touched on it a little bit too. There were a lot of inefficient shooters last season. A lot of guys taking high volumes of shots. You can check the stats. You can see, particularly from the three-point range, Miami was one of the worst in the country last year. I think they were 325 out of 347, and they're much better this year. They're a top 100 team, and they're actually shooting better from three in the ACC, one of the top teams in the country at that. They have a top 20 offensive efficiency team. It's their highest efficiency team since 2016 in the last 20 years. You're seeing that play out game after game. It's why Miami's in this position. But Larranaga, when he knows his guys, he's able to maximize that. This is what we saw with the 2013 championship team. It's essentially what we saw from the 2016 Sweet 16 team. And if you really want to go back to his George Mason days, if you look at that Final Four team, it was the same thing. I think all 5 of those guys from that Final Four team started every single game. And although there was some tinkering, Jordan Miller went to the bench for a couple games earlier in the year. Essentially, it's the same roles. These guys are in their roles. They have a true identity. This team knows its strengths with its guard play and some good scoring on the guards, and they know its weaknesses. They're not a big team, but they're not getting exploited. They're doing a good job of hiding some of those things, and college basketball is all about strengths and weaknesses, so I definitely want to make sure that this is being talked about, because I do believe this is why Miami has been able to be successful this year. They go to 16-5. I want to thank everybody for jumping on the thread here, the live post-game show. If you jumped on late, Jim Larranaga talked at the beginning after I had a few minutes of comments. We weren't able to get players afterwards, but Josh Pastner came on, the Georgia Tech head coach, talked a lot about Miami early when he talked, and then I was able to get that question in, and he talked highly. He seems to think that I've got a lot of pull with the Basketball Hall of Fame. I do not. You guys know that. I've been a voter for all ACC teams. But you know, that's where it goes and ends with me, even though I've covered this team for a long time. So I've said I've enjoyed watching Josh over the years as a coach, and certainly this is not his strongest team at Georgia Tech. But let's get back to Miami. A good win for Miami. They get it on the road. I do want to answer some questions here that I wasn't able to get to, but I did notice them in the chat room, and definitely drop more questions if you guys have. Even if you're new to the team, if you don't know this team very well, that's okay. You know, I understand there's a lot going on with sports and other things. If you're just jumping on, welcome to the live post-game show, but welcome to following the basketball team as this team gets ready for a postseason run. You heard Coach talk about he thinks Miami's a tournament team, a team that can do damage. The latest brackets have them in as like an 8-9 seed right now, but certainly if they stay where they're at, top the ACC, they're going to be right there at the end. One of the things, let's talk a little bit. I do want to touch on Wong. Jeff popped in here with the Isaiah Wong question, but I do want to make sure we talk a little bit about the AP poll. I think I saw the question. I thought it was a valid question. I want to make sure I get it right here. There we go here. I want to make sure I find it. So let me scroll up here. Okay, man. Okay, Kane, Idaho, jumping in, says, down here or not, how can this team in first place in the ACC not be ranked this late into the season? I think it's a valid question. I think let's look at the AP top 25. And I think when you look at what other teams are doing, I think you'll understand why Miami's in the position they are in outside the top 25. And currently not ranked. And honestly, right now, they're actually not close. And for people that don't know how the AP poll works, AP has there's 60 reporters, about 60 reporters across the country. You can look right here. So 61. It's not people that work for the Associated Press. And if you know kind of my background, I've done stuff for the AP for the last 15 years or so. But it's reporters that in different markets that cover different teams. It's a mix of reporters. So they send in their ballots. But anyways, here's the top 25 as we look. Again, if you're looking at the records, this is coming into the week. It gets released on Monday. 15-3, 15-4. You see a 5-loss Villanova team. But all these teams are just winning a bunch of games. Tennessee plays later tonight against Texas. So you can check them out. They've got a nice team. You know, some of these teams. So you look at the record, the Marquette, the 14-6. So now we're starting to get into some closer records for Miami, and Miami gets the win today. They go to 16-5. If you go to other receiving votes, I want to make sure you guys can see this. So the way it worked, Miami has 4 votes, and puts them at 38th. I don't expect them to jump into the top 25. I know people are excited. But look, this week, Miami beat the 2 lowest ranked teams in the ACC, Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech. So I don't think it's enough for them to jump all the way into the top 25. Again, the big thing when you look at this is other teams around the country are winning games. And you've got to remember, this isn't college football when there's only about 120 teams at that top level. College basketball is about 350. So a team like Davidson is in the top 25. You see that more often. There's a lot more competition to get into the top 25. In short, it's very hard to be ranked. Miami, or the ACC, is down, did not do very well in the non-conference schedule. Everybody knows that. That's why the ACC is not as highly regarded. But certainly, if Miami keeps winning, you're going to see the votes continue to go up. They got as high as 28th or 29th, and then they suffered the losses to Florida State. And as you see here with Florida State, they're a team ahead of them. They have more votes. They have 50 votes. They're still outside the top 25. And also, too, when you look at this, Miami lost to Alabama. They're outside the top 25. Miami's only top 25 win is against Duke, and Duke's 9th right now. Obviously a good win, and it's nothing to discredit. You just need more. You got to win more. And certainly, you saw down here, Wake Forest is a team ahead of Miami in votes. Miami will get Wake Forest. And certainly, like I said, if Miami keeps winning, this thing's going to shake itself out. They'll get into the top 25. I just don't think it'll happen this week. I do think Miami is earning respect, and I think people understand with where they're at. But again, they're not, it's starting to be 8-2, top of the conference. It's starting to win. And I think as it continues, if you go 9-2, 10-2, I do think the wins are going to add even a little bit more coming up. Miami's got a tough one against Notre Dame. They've increased. They're starting to get some winning stuff going on there at Notre Dame. So the tough team coming up. So if Miami just keeps winning, they can kind of pass the teams ahead of them. But to answer the question from Kane, Idaho, it's really because there's some other good teams, and Miami does have 5 losses. And essentially with the losses to Dayton, who's obviously, they're not ranked, UCF not ranked, 2 to Florida State, they're not ranked. And then the other loss there to Alabama, who was ranked at the time, but they're not either. So they've got 5 losses against non-top 25 teams, and then their only win is against Duke. So that's got to, that's kind of with where they're at in the top 25. Kind of going back to the ACC standings, there we got it updated there. So Miami half a game ahead of Duke. Just a reminder, 20-game conference schedule. So Miami 8-2 with 10 to go. Certainly a great point. You want to be in that top 4. Obviously, they're looking to win it, but getting that top 4, you get that extra bye for the tournament. It's very hard to win the ACC tournament without that double bye. So that's where they'll be looking to stay in that top 4. And you can see it's very crowded, with Miami, Duke, Notre Dame, Wake Forest, North Carolina, all the way down to Florida State. And certainly Virginia deserves respect for what they've been able to do in recent years, although they're not having that season that they have. So, yeah, Chris Brown, those 2 FSU losses hurt, definitely, especially the ACC standings. It's very tight. If they could have just won, if they could have won one of those, and it definitely would have helped out as they stay closer to the top. But look, 20-game conference schedule, it's going to probably take, a good 16 wins. It's going to be, I don't know if a team's going to go 17-3 in the conference, but you got to get, definitely stay above 15 would definitely be a good point in the conference. But certainly Duke is doing well. They got a win today without Trevor Keels, so they're continuing to rack up wins. Today is one of those ACC schedule days where kind of the top half is facing the bottom half, so you want to make sure you win like Miami did today. And as you see, last 2 wins, Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech both at the bottom of the conference. Good wins, get them on the road. It's good for the ACC. It's not necessarily going to help in the ACC standings or in the AP poll. The other thing I want to note is the question from Jeff there asking about Isaiah Wong. It says, Chris, do you agree Wong is not playing to his full potential this year? I actually have been on the other side. Obviously we've seen Wong play at a really high level, but he's actually shooting much better this year. A higher percentage, it's closer to 48. Last year was around 42, so his percent is high. It's only slightly lower in scoring average, but he's on a much better team. I thought he's added some things to his arsenal. I think maybe you might be slighted a little bit because Cam McGusty has taken that jump, but look, Isaiah Wong is a key reason why Miami is leading the conference. It's a big difference between getting points on a team at the bottom half, the bottom 5 teams, to where they're at now, and Isaiah Wong's a big part of that, and he'll be a big part moving forward. And they need both of those guys playing at the level they're playing at, getting points, scoring buckets, staying aggressive, getting the free throw line. I think both of those guys, Wong and McGusty, do a good job of getting points at different levels. And you saw today, I thought Isaiah did a good job jumping into some passing lanes, making it uncomfortable. I thought he did a good job. All the guards did a good job on holding DeVoe down. But certainly, I think Isaiah is fine. I don't think he's dropped off completely or anything like that. I actually think he's doing more to help wins. And like I said, his efficiency's there. His scoring's only down about a half a point, so it's not a huge difference from last year. And at 16 a game, he's still a top 10 scorer in the ACC. So I think that's great as well. So, okay, what else do we got here? Yeah, you're welcome, Kane Idaho. I'm glad people are here. I'm glad people are interested. I know the live post-game show is something new I've tried. We did a short one there the other day. We've been doing these every game. I'll continue to do them. And like I said, I was glad to be able to get Josh Pastner in on the show. If you heard it, they were like, who is this Chris Stott guy? But I have the Zoom link. I'm a reporter, so he let me in. The PR, shout out to them for letting me in, and eventually calling on me to get my question in, and Coach Pastner was great. Definitely feels like, Coach should be a Hall of Famer. Again, something like this, and Coach doesn't ever talk about his resume, but I know, look, some people have asked why Coach Larranaga is even stuck around. He's a veteran coach. Why, with the last 3 years, losing seasons, not doing well, the records weren't great. Why did he endure it? And I think he didn't want to go out. I thought, I've brought this up before, but it really like came to my attention when I was doing the last interview with the Duke reporter on football, when I interviewed an opposing reporter before Miami played that team. And he talked about how Coach Cutcliffe essentially was going to be exiting with the program essentially kind of worse off, or at the same point it was when he took over, and a guy that had been there about 15 years, very disappointing on his standpoint, I'm sure. I thought about that a lot with Jim Larranaga, because when he came into Miami with where the program was at, I thought it was starting to become a little similar to where they're at now coming into this year. And I think if we were to really sit down with Coach Larranaga, I would say, other than being under contract, I would say that he did not want to leave Miami worse off than he got here as. He's been here over 10 years. Did some great things, getting to the tournament, won its only conference title, regular season and conference. And I think he did not want to leave Miami with essentially the same spot it was, losing teams, also not making the tournament, struggling to make NIT bids. Also, the fan interest was not there, similar to what it was when he took over. So I think that was a big part why he wanted to come back. This is a season he's really enjoying for them to be in the mix. They've got a shot at another ACC title. I did not see this coming at the beginning of the year. I didn't even see it as the season started. They go 4-3. It was hard to believe this team was going to be an NIT team. But I know now, and I know as the season goes on, we will look back at that Penn State-Clemson duo of games. Not great teams, but I thought for them to get those wins against Power 5 conference teams after what happened there at that tournament in Orlando and getting drilled by Alabama to drop to 4-3 with losses to Dayton and UCF already, I thought those 2 wins were as big a wins for this season to move forward. Coach Larranaga touched on it. I asked him about the road wins. They go to 5-1 again, a reminder, 5-36 the last 3 years on the road. When I asked him about that, he said he feels like they were able to gain momentum with their 4 home games to start the ACC schedule, and those were all pivotal as well. And so that essentially they were able to get momentum with that. I think they were also able to get momentum with those Penn State Clemson victories moving forward, gain some confidence, because this is a team, look, players can talk all about confidence. They're confident in their ability, but they didn't know what they had with this team. The coaches didn't really either. So getting results is always big, and they were able to get results, gain confidence as the year has gone on. And this is to where they're at now. They're a team in contention. And I remember when I asked Isaiah kind of with where this team is recently, he just feels like they're one of the better teams in the ACC. So they feel it. They know where they're at in the ACC. And I think what's best is a very good thing for this team. If they play their game, they know they can beat everybody. They know that their best is good enough. And that's not always been the case at Miami in recent years. They know their identity. They know what they need to do to win. They know what they need to avoid. And then a game like tonight, they get the 16 turnovers. They have not been turning the ball over more than 10 times a game very often, but they were still able to win. I think that's great that they're able to get wins when you're not playing your best. That's always important in sports, regardless of what level. It doesn't matter starting pitching. We talk about that all the time in Major League Baseball. You don't always have your best stuff, but to get wins and to do well enough to win, I think that's what happened tonight. And again, Georgia Tech's at the bottom, but they're fighting. They don't want to be at the bottom. They want to get a big win. You felt like the crowd was good tonight, or good today, this afternoon here. All right, Corey's here. Shout out to Corey. What about Charlie Moore fouling out? Do we have the depth behind Charlie to make a deep run in the ACC and NCAA tournament? This team is not a deep team. They're not going to get a lot of scoring off the bench. I feel like you might get a 3 or 2 from Wooga Poplar and Bensley Joseph. I don't think Wooga's been as effective since he came back. He was out there with COVID protocols. He just has not been able to get that impact, with making some shots. But Bensley, we can switch it back here. Look at some Miami stats once again. So Bensley comes in. He does get a 3-pointer, makes a couple free throws at the end of the game, but they're not big-time scorers. Anthony Walker does hit a 3, 2 for 3 on shots, does get 7 points. They do get 12 points off the bench. It's not a deep team. No, I don't think this team can make a deep run if one of their top 2 scorers go down. I think certainly Charlie Moore is I think this team changes without Charlie. I think they need all their guys, all 5 of their guys. I think if Miller's off the court, they're different. I think when Wardenberg's off the court, they're different. I think all 5 of their starters play key roles, whether they score or not. So I don't think that they can essentially afford an injury of some sort to any of their guys, but especially they need their top guys, their top scorers to be out there as much as possible. And you're seeing it game in and game out. They're playing heavy minutes. I asked Coach about McGusty, not today, but last game, and he said he wants to try to give Cam a break. He follows that up with a 38-minute game, McGusty did. So it's hard to find minutes for these guys, I think. And if you look at the schedule, Miami had the week off recently, but they're going to have 2 games a week, scheduled games a week till the end of the season. So finding time, it's hard with the ACC. Again, you saw it this week. Miami plays the 2 lowest teams in the conference, but they weren't able to get their guys a break. This one was they win by 11 here, but it got down to 6, so they weren't able to get guys in just to give some extra minutes. They needed every minute from their top guys. So depth is an issue, but it's not a strength, but that's okay. I touched on it earlier, why it's okay. But Bensley Joseph is a backup point guard. I thought it was interesting that they went ahead and put him in. They trusted him with Charlie Moore going down, and foul trouble's not really been an issue for Charlie, so it does happen. But and he picked up his 4th with about 6 minutes to go, so they sent him to the bench. It was kind of while Georgia Tech was making that run. But the key for guys like Bensley and Wooga in particular, because they're freshmen, I think they understand their roles. They both know that they're not going to, essentially, most games they're not going to score 10 points or anything like that, or even get enough shot attempts to score that many points. But a guy like Bensley, come in, handle the ball, I think that's big. Play good defense. I think the same way with Wooga, he could score a little bit more, and you will see him take shots. It's tough tonight. He only got the 1 shot attempt there in 8 minutes. But you see, Wooga was in a +8. Guys on the bench need to look at different stats, and I think that's something that he can look at. When he's on the court, don't let that be a -10. Definitely keep the team in the game and be able to keep the team in the game, but keep the main guys on the bench for a little bit more rest. Anthony Walker's an interesting guy. We've seen flashes with him off the bench. We saw at times last year he could score in double figures and be a guy, but again, he's not been really efficient. So it's been a little bit of a struggle to find his role with how to give what he can to the team. But I think definitely his energy on defense, finishing, with his athleticism, I think is key. He did knock down a three. Coach Pastner was quick to point out, which I assume is definitely correct, but he said Walker's not hit a three in conference play, so I thought that was interesting. It just happens sometimes in games where guys you don't expect get points. So overall, the depth isn't great, but I don't think it's something that's really going to hurt them. They just need to be solid minutes. Like I said, plus minus, pay attention to that. Make sure that these teams are not getting ran, that the team's not coming in with a lead and these guys come into the game and they can't do anything and they fall behind. So when they're in the game, definitely, you don't want to have the main guys off the bench, the main scorers all on the bench at the same time. But we'll see if Miami can find some more minutes. But you look at it too, Isaiah Wong, 35 minutes, Jordan Miller, the 35. Charlie Moore goes 25 minutes, but he had been 30 plus. He just dealt with foul trouble today. Sam Wardenberg, 23 minutes. He's going to be all five of their guys typically get over 30 minutes, so it's not uncommon to see guys with heavy minutes. Okay, I've talked for a while. I appreciate everybody. Can't believe we're an hour-long post-game. This is the longest post-game show we've been able to do. It's much easier to do on an afternoon than a night game, so I want to thank everybody here. I'll have some more comments. Definitely, it looks like I need to reach out to the Basketball Hall of Fame so Josh Pastner doesn't get upset with me. And I've got to send that message to Miami's SID, the Sports Information Directors that Josh wanted me to pass on, that they need to get him on the ballot, get Coach Larranaga on the ballot. So I want to thank everybody. Stay interested. Stay locked into Inside the U. Obviously, basketball team, football coverage, the coaching stuff is coming up. Also with recruits, big recruiting weekend, signing days next week. I can't believe it's finally here. And then the baseball team. Shout out to everybody that checked that out, baseball coverage. They started practice. So I want to thank everybody, Jeff, Corey, Kane, Idaho for the questions. Turner's in here as well. Touch on the BPI. I didn't get a chance to touch that out and bring that up, but definitely there's some ratings formula. Oh, I want to let you guys know. Since you guys are here, I know you're diehard Miami basketball fans. I've got some analytics stuff that I will be breaking down with someone that I'm really excited to have on for an interview session next week. So stay locked into that, because once again, just having outside voices on this team, I think is great. And also just to get some more information from someone that I really look to get my information. So I want to pass that on to you guys. So definitely stay locked into the channel. Shout out to Jeff. Yep, 15,000 coming soon. Hopefully very soon. I always am appreciative of the amount of subscribers we already have, but I always want to keep doing my best to get more, to do my best to add more things to it. This is one of those things I've been trying to add to the channel, the live post-game show. Did the live stream from the baseball scrimmage last night. Going to work on that, get that better as well. So more stuff coming. Thanks everybody for stopping by. A lot of college basketball still to go today. Definitely check that out. So thanks again. Have a good rest of the day.